people, stay dandy, baby. My Hero Academia has so many characters that a lot of the time when I'm watching it, I'm a little overwhelmed because it's hard for me to get attached to certain ones. But every once in a while, they'll do that arc which expands on a side character that never really got a lot of showtime. And that's basically what this entire episode is all about, is the big competition between classes A and B continues. And we get some really amazing moments in this episode, most of which come from Hitoshi Shinso. This guy is really cool. He's definitely an up-and-coming superhero, and his ability to use that mask, which can mimic the voice of just about anyone, makes him one hell of a threat. And we get to see that not only is he really mastering that ability, but he's been training a lot with Aizawa, and he's using his signature style of fighting, which is perfect because that, in combination with his voice-changing abilities, allows him to defend himself as well as his teammates. He was a little apprehensive before going into this, knowing that maybe he's not going to be able to catch up with these heroes, but Tsuyu made it very clear at the end of the episode that he is certainly on par with a lot of them, and when his abilities are used perfectly in conjunction with other heroes, well, it can be an unstoppable force. And this episode right here was just so damn cool. It wasn't even the cool combination of Class A, but I'm really interested in Class B, as again, they really are the true side characters of the series, as they don't get too much screen time, and this has been the perfect opportunity to build upon them in the best way possible, and they all have some really great quirks and gimmicks, and their personalities are a lot of fun. Gerota Shishida in particular, the big beast man, I think is just really fun to watch. He had some really explosive and cool moments, but him combined with his other teammates were a lot of fun. I mean, Kosei is definitely, I think, maybe the weakest member of their team, but even despite that, his abilities can completely nullify some of the major ones from Team A in this episode, such as Hitoshi, whose entire, abilities revolve around the fact that he's going to brainwash people, but he actually has to talk to them. But Kosei can completely nullify that with his ability to create these sort of like weird air barrier boxes to trap people in, and that can really be bad, especially because on this team you have two characters whose abilities rely on them being able to communicate with people, the other one being Koji Koda. And I like Koji, I just still feel that he hasn't quite had his true moment in the sun quite yet. Again, I don't read the manga version of My Hero Academia, but I'm waiting for that big super wow moment from Koji, as so far he's just had a few moments where he kind of helps out a little bit, and then he just sort of like goes off into the background. And unfortunately, he does do that a little bit in this episode, but he still had some really solid moments here, so I can't wait to learn a little bit more about his abilities and how he can truly use them in terms of communicating with animals and using them in a cool way. He almost got to use them in this episode as he was teaming up with Eijiro Kirishima as they were going up against Gerota, and another fantastic scene. But really, there's just so many great moments to talk about here, despite the fact that it was a very simple episode overall of these two teams going up against each other, trying to trick each other with their quirks and trying to capture each other so they can win this competition. And even though I said Koji didn't get his moment, every character really had like a good, like, shining moment in this episode, to say the least. It's just some I liked a little bit more than others. So the episode actually picks up immediately from the end of the last one, where you got to see that Hitoshi was using his special ability, the Persona Chords, that brand new mask, to mimic the voice of Kosei so that he could take control of Gerota. Of course, we do know that if you want to get out of this brainwashing, you have to get some sort of severe trauma, or basically, you just got to get popped in the head. And that's what Kosei does. He ends up just smacking this dude and basically like snapping him out of all of this. But Tsuyu comes in and she manages to capture Kosei using her tongue, which leads to a very funny scene in the episode where she ends up throwing him in jail. And while he's very upset over this, he's also kind of happy with the fact that he got wrapped up in her tongue. It's creepy and it's weird. I don't know. It's strange. And it does make sense when you think about the fact that she was using her tongue to do this. But again, that's kind of what her entire ability is based around entirely. I mean, she's a frog girl. That's what she does. She jumps around, she uses her tongue, and she's covered with mucus, which also comes into play in this episode. But everybody else got to do some really cool things here. But basically, Kosei gets taken out, and then we have the final members of their team who have to try and defend themselves and make sure that they don't get captured, with Kurota being the giant beast man, and I love the way that his abilities work, where when Eijiro and Koji are actually attacking him, he starts to charge them and he's all massive, but then suddenly, right when he gets next to them, he releases his beast form, which suddenly makes him shrink, allowing them to basically slide right past them in their attacks, and then suddenly go right back into beast mode going into attacking. It's really freaking cool. I did love that moment. It's also great to see Eijiro again utilizing his hardening techniques and getting a lot better at it again. When he goes into that form, it looks just so damn cool. I really love it every single time he does that. Every single time Eijiro's on screen, he slowly starts to become one of my favorite characters from the series. He's just so damn cool. I love me some friggin' Red Riot right there. So then we have Ibara, who might be one of the most over-the-top members of this team. A lot of that is more of her personality. I mean, her powers are very simple. Basically, she has vine-like hair. She's basically Poison Ivy from Batman. But she has this, like, weird sort of god complex. Like, she's super religious about things. And this comes through in her personality, and for the most part, it's played for laughs. But her powers are surprisingly devastating with the fact that she can basically make her hair just go out in so many different directions, making her surprisingly dangerous and her ability to create like a lot of different traps. So basically, you have Kurota, you have Ibara, and the other member of the team, whose name unfortunately just escapes me at the moment, but basically this guy can create scales on his body which he can fire like weapons. We've only seen him briefly in the series, but this is sort of like the most action that we've seen him in, and basically they're trying to draw out the other members of the Class A team, and Tsuyu comes up with this really great plan where she's secreting all of this poisonous mucus from her body, and she ends up covering her teammates with this, in which basically it gives them the ability to sort of mask themselves, and it makes it seem as if there are actually 3 Tsuyus. I say that because Kurota is a beast man, or Gerota is a beast man, and he has the ability to sort of sense where they're going to be coming from because he has that great sense of smell, and when they get covered in Tsuyu's mucus, which saying that out loud just sounds all sorts of fucked up, he realizes that they're going in multiple directions and they're going to have to try and like take them all out at once, and they all just sort of end up going off in different directions. And Denki, who is the dumbest member of the team, he's probably the dumbest member of Class A, to be perfectly honest, actually ends up coming up with a really solid plan. He initially put a tracker on Gerota, which is kind of funny because he didn't even realize he did it until Tsuyu actually brought it up. But he actually allows himself to get captured by Ibara, which ends up being like the perfect decoy, allowing Tsuyu and Hitoshi to come in and use their distinctive abilities. And what's really great here is that Hitoshi utilizes his ability to not only, mimic other people's voices, but to also play mental games with them. He basically changes the entire outcome of the battle, knowing that these characters can't fully communicate with each other, and basically his abilities break down their communication, as Tsuyu says. They can't simply talk to each other anymore because for the fear that it could actually be his brand new persona chords, which is mimicking their voice and allowing them to basically be taken over. And that leads to some really awesome scenes in this episode from all of the characters. Like I said, Denki does end up getting captured, but Tsuyu comes in and just starts kicking all sorts of ass. She does this amazing drop kick to the scale guy, which is really great, and this leaves Gerota to try and go after Hitoshi, feeling that, of course, he's the one who's hiding and waiting to use his abilities, and he's going to not fall for any of his tricks. There's a great scene where he's running through all of this piping, which is really well animated as he prepares to take down Hitoshi, who utilizes one of his Aizawa-taught techniques to use one of these, pieces of fabric to try and pull a pipe down on his head. It doesn't work, and then as Gerota is actually, running towards him, he starts to hear one of his teammates talking, and he believes that this is actually Hitoshi who's actually doing this, but again, their entire line of communication has been completely cut down. So this is actually Tsuyu, who comes in with a scale guy, ends up throwing him directly into Gerota's head, knocking him out as they take out the remaining members of the team in Class A. The victory goes to them in the first part of the competition, and it's a thrill ride the entire way through. So, what's the rundown on this episode of My Hero Academia? I love every character in this show. I can't say that about a lot of other anime that I watch, where, there's a select couple of characters that I really like, and a few that I tolerate, and some that I just absolutely hate. I love every character that is on screen in this episode. They're so unique in terms of their personalities and their abilities and how they work with one another, and I think that's a testament to the writing and the creation of these characters. Everybody really gets to do something really fun and awesome in this episode, and there's some really solid animation attached to just about every single moment. It's so over the top in the best way possible. I had so many favorite moments here. I think Tsuyu drop-kicking Scale Dude was really incredible. Gerota'S ability to transform in between his normal and beast forms I thought were really cool. Even Denki, at the beginning of the episode when he started like charging, was awesome. Eijiro, as always, is really cool, and him teaming up with Koji as they're going up against Gerota, I thought was really awesome. I was so ready for that moment where Koji was going to break out of his shell, and he was calling on like the power of these bugs that were getting ready to form around his fist. I'm not sure what this was going to do, but man, I was excited to see it. It's very clear they're going to build him up for something a little bit more. I mean, I know Koji's going to have his moment. He's such an interesting character. It's hard not to be interested in what he's going to do because he's such a soft-spoken kind of guy, but it's very clear that his powers are going to be very useful at some point in the future. And even though it didn't necessarily succeed in this episode, again, it shows with the right combination of people and a great strategy, you can come up with something great, even with someone who's not very experienced like Hitoshi, who in this episode was awesome. I'm really glad that they brought that character back and how they're building him up in this arc, because it looks like he's going to be very important. And I love the fact that right now he's working with Team A. If the intro is any indication, eventually he's going to be on a, Team B going up against Deku, which I believe is going to happen. It's going to be like a rematch between those two. So I think that's going to be really solid to see how all that's going to come together, to see how they're going to grow. And considering how they've made me attached to Hitoshi over the span of just these 2 episodes right here, when they finally do get to that moment where he throws down with Deku, I'm not sure who I'm going to root for. I mean, obviously you want to root for the main character of the series because you want to see him grow, get stronger and everything. But at the same time, I want to see the same thing for Hitoshi. So, man, I'm so conflicted in terms of what they're actually going to do with all of that. Yeah, there were just so many standout scenes in this episode, and it was handled so well. And the production value was also really good. There was some really solid art direction and animation in this episode and some great moments, whether it was Tsuyu jumping around and attacking, or those great moments of Gerota attacking, transforming, and running through those pipes as he was attacking Hitoshi. There's a number of really great scenes in this episode which really just stood out and were exciting. And the fact that it involved a lot of side characters who don't get that much screen time made it all the more refreshing, to say the least. So, good production value, fantastic character moments, really solid action, amazing explosive personalities. I thought that this was a great episode of My Hero Academia, which is why I have no problem in giving it a 5 out of 5. For me, this was pure joy, entertainment value from beginning to end. If you love these characters and you love this world, this is the episode for you. But you heard my thoughts on the episode. I would love to hear yours, and you can sound off in the comment section below telling me what you thought about the latest episode of My Hero Academia. What did you think of the very first battle between Class A and B? Did you have any favorite moments, character moments? What do you hope to see from the future of this big competition? Let's talk all about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review and discussion. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Be a part of the Ace Guru Nation. If you did like the video, go ahead, power up, hit that like button. Helps out these videos so much. It actually ensures that more people can actually watch my videos when I release them. I would also like to take this time to thank all of my patrons. You guys are the superheroes of Ace Guru, watching my videos, sharing them with people, leaving me great content and feedback, and I would also like to take this time to thank all of my patrons. You guys are the superheroes of Ace Guru, watching my videos, leaving great comments, giving me some fantastic feedback, and of course, you're making those monthly donations, and I cannot thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice, as well as adding your name to this list of super amazing people that you see on screen. That's right, the superpowered superheroes of Ace Guru. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby.